Welcome back to In Pursuit of Truth. This is your host, Sir Patrick Mac. I'm the Mac with the sore back. We got some more Q posts. Ladies and gentlemen, if you did not watch my last video that I actually it's still uploading on other platforms. I just published it. I told you that there would be more Q posts as soon as I published, and indeed, we have some. I got some live footage of me trying to step out the door to get some grub.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I'm good. I was wearing a helmet. Safety is paramount. John, at the moment, how many Q posts do you see?
8.
All right, nice. 27:46, 4 minutes after the hour of 2. Q is responding to an anonymous. Let me just go ahead and take you over to 8chan here. The anonymous says, former top FBI lawyer James Baker in closed-door testimony to Congress detailed alleged discussions among senior officials at the Justice Department about invoking the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office, claiming he was told Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein said 2 Trump cabinet officials were ready to support such an effort. We talked about this in my last video, right? And the Anon is saying, dig Anon's 2 cabinet members in May of 2017. So they're looking for these 2 cabinet members. Now, I got a pretty good idea of who they are, but let's go ahead and stick with the post for a second. Q said they were removed. When was Page removed from the investigation? What month? Well, Q answers us. July 2017, early. When was Scaramucci hired? July 2017, late. Regarding the Scaramucci model, 5-5, meaning all clear, we understand each other. Those who left, majority did not have a choice. All remain pro-MAGA and loyal to POTUS. Why are we attacked by pro-MAGA? The establishment runs deep. Logical thinking. Okay, there's a little bit to unpack here. But in terms of Scaramucci was there for one thing only. He was there to basically take some public fire Meanwhile, he was essentially removing some people. Well, who did he remove? Well, I haven't said it specifically, but I did allude to it the other day. So let's go ahead and flash back to that.
Gotta flash back aside, take you back,
Taking you back, but not way back to February 10th. It's a video of me entitled Good to Go. See, you're playing a video of me playing a video of me. Here it is.
So we have Whitaker, who stepped in and had to remove a few knuckleheads. Very much like during the tenure of Anthony Scaramucci, we saw guys like Sean Spicer, Heinz Priebus, those guys like that were going away. Were they leaking? Who knows? But
yeah, who knows? Well, you guys knew all along. That's what's up because you're dialed in. Those who left, majority did not have a choice. Yeah, so many of these people were fired, forced, or removed. And I always point to Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. Look, take a look at a guy like Paul Ryan, and you can just see it in his eyes. This guy wanted to be president. And all of a sudden, he's just going to step down, especially considering where he was as Speaker of the House. You think he really wanted to step down at his age and just spend more time with the family or whatever? Really? Really? Why are we attacked by pro-MAGA? Because they're not really pro-MAGA. They might be outwardly conservative. They might be, I don't know, Republican, whatever label you want to put on them. But they're not really pro-MAGA. And, keep in mind our major news conglomerates, you name it. You got to look at all of them with a cocked eye. I know a lot of you guys look at me with a cocked eye. That's the way it is nowadays. We're all so jaded by this media because it's hard to know who's who anymore, right? People will come out being all pro this and pro that. Next thing you know, they'll, give you a complete flip-flop. And, we can think of a few names right off the top of our own heads, right? When we think about this supposed pro-MAGA that tend to make these really weird statements. There's been a few as of late come out against the president, in particular in regards to this national emergency and the spending bill. So we see who's coming out by who's barking the loudest. And I'm not going to call out a bunch of names and stuff like that because that's the kind of stuff that gets people turning up missing. But the establishment runs deep, right? We all know it. And we're all dealing with it. And as much as we like to poke fun at it and prod at it and lampoon it, the fact of the matter is that it's serious business and they're fighting for keeps. So these supposed pro-MAGA, whether they were forced or coerced, did not have a choice. Like you said, those who left, majority did not have a choice. So they weren't able to choose it. They all remained pro-MAGA, but it's a question here and loyal to POTUS, so some of them are. So think about the ones that are barking, and why are they doing that? Because think about it. If you were that way too and you saw an opening, you'd still go for it, right? These people have worked all their lives to achieve something that the POTUS basically upended in a matter of 2 years. So think about it. These people aren't stupid people either. I mean, they're kind of stupid, but they're not that stupid. You know what I mean? So this establishment running so deep, if they think they got a moment and they think they got an open shot, they're going to take it, right? That's logical thinking, and that's what we're dealing with. Let's move on to 2747. 20 minutes after the hour 2, we get a couple links right here. Let's check it out. And here is a fact sheet. President Donald J. Trump's border security victory. This is what I was talking about yesterday that I've been waiting to see. I will never waver from my sacred duty to defend this nation and its people. We will get the job done. All right, well, we're going to cruise through a little bit of this here. It looks like some bullet points. I haven't been able to check it all out yet, but this first part just talks about how President Trump is following through with his promise to secure the border. What do we got? The funding bill contains robust resources and additional provisions to secure the border and strengthen immigration enforcement. That's fluffy talk. I want to know what you got. The bill provides $1.375 billion for approximately 55 miles of border barrier in highly dangerous and drug smuggling areas in the Rio Grande Valley, where it is desperately needed. All right, so $1.375 billion just for the 55 miles of border. Now, that is 55 miles is a big deal when you're talking about border. But I'm not exactly sure how much total they really want. More than 40% of all border apprehensions occurred in the Rio Grande Valley sector in fiscal year. So it looks like that's a pretty hot spot here. $415 million will go towards addressing the humanitarian crisis at the border by providing medical care, transportation, processing centers, and consumables. Let's see what else we got as far as some of this money goes, including funding and homeland security appropriations. The administration has so far identified up to $8.1 billion that will be available to build the border wall once a national emergency is declared and additional funds have been reprogrammed. So that looks pretty key right there. Let me read that again. Including funding and homeland security appropriations, the administration has so far identified up to $8.1 billion that will be available to build the border wall once a national emergency is declared and additional funds have been reprogrammed. Okay, so including $601 million from the Treasury forfeiture fund, up to $2.5 billion under the Department of Defense funds transferred for support to counter drug activities. Up to $3.6 billion reallocated from Department of Defense military construction projects under the president's declaration of a national emergency. Okay, so it looks like there's some landmines of our own here. The Department of Homeland Security, Department of Defense, and the Army Corps of Engineers are working to create a prioritized list of segments and work plan for the remainder of fiscal year 2019 and beyond. And it actually mentions the dam that I was talking about earlier too. Let me see if I can find this somewhere. Maybe it wasn't in this. It might be in the next one right here. But yeah, like I said, I don't know enough about this bill yet to really be able to talk intelligently to you about it. I'd like to get it more itemized and see what some other people's opinions are before I make an opinion on such a topic. But here it is. Let's go on to the next one here. This is a statement by the president. We're not going to read this whole thing because it's fairly long here. But this says here, today I've signed into law HJ Resolution 31, the Consolidated Appropriations Act 2019, the Act, which authorizes appropriations to fund the operation of a number of agencies in the federal government through September 30th, 2019. Remember, President Trump has always said he likes active drafting. Certain provisions of the Act, such as Division F under the heading Contribution for International Peacekeeping Activities, would require advance notice to the Congress before the President may direct certain military actions or provide certain forms of military assistance. In signing the Act, I reiterate the well-established understanding of the executive branch that these types of provisions encompass only military actions for which providing advance notice is feasible and consistent with the President's constitutional authority and duty as Commander-in-Chief to ensure national security. Division C, Section 527, and Division A, Section 516, both restrict the transfer of Guantanamo detainees to the United States. I will treat these and similar provisions consistent with the President's constitutional authority as Commander-in-Chief. All right, so we've got some pretty interesting stuff here, and probably lots to look through, especially in some of these sections here. Let's move on a little bit. Here's another one. Division C, Section 537, provides that the Department of Justice may not use any funds to prevent implementation of medical marijuana laws by various states and territories. I will treat this provision consistent with the President's constitutional responsibility to faithfully execute the laws of the United States. Here's another one. Certain provisions with Division D, Title II, under the heading Office of Management and Budget, Salaries and Expenses, impose restrictions on supervisions by the Office of Management and Budget of work performed by executive departments and agencies, including provisos that no funds made available to OMB may be expended for the altering of the annual work plan developed by the Corps of Engineers for submission to the committees on appropriations, that none of the funds provided in this or prior acts shall be used directly or indirectly by the Office of Management and Budget for evaluating or determining if water resource project or study reports submitted by the Chief of Engineers acting through the Secretary of the Army are in compliance with all applicable laws, regulations, and requirements relevant to the Civil Works water resource planning process. Okay, and if you watched my previous video, we were talking about that dam, right? The Keystone Dam. And so I think this might be part of what it is referring to, and that none of the funds appropriated in this act for the Office of Management and Budget may be used for the purpose of reviewing any agricultural marketing orders or any activities or regulations under the provisions of the Agricultural Marketing Agreement Act of 1937. Okay, so there's a lot of minutia here to go through, and I'd still like to cover, get more time to cover this. We've got a lot more QPOs to go through, but it looks like a little bit of a chill pill. It looks like President Trump here is basically stating that everything we're doing is by the book. Now, I would like to be able to parse out what is being done here, but at least this part right here seemed to be talking about in regards to fixing or adjusting this dam. It looks like he's just kind of dotting his I's and crossing his T's. You can let me know what you see down below, but I would like another day or two with this before I comment too much. Let's move on. Post 2748, 27 minutes after the hour of 2. This top part right here is an excerpt from this right here, the Scaramucci play. This was from Post 2468, November 10th. The Scaramucci play, temp hire to remove, embed untrustworthy staffers, and you can see that that's what it is up here, Spicer and Priebus. Temps can be very dangerous to those who are targeted. Think Whitaker next week. Now, that was November 10th. Now, Whitaker, of course, is gone, and we now have William Barr. And Spicer and Priebus were our untrustworthy staffers that had to go, right? Q is essentially just confirming this right here. But I'm not exactly sure who got let go during the Whitaker era, but I'm sure we're going to probably see that fallout. Could Rod Rowe have been one of those? Just because they're saying he's going to be leaving next week doesn't mean it hasn't already happened, right? And although we've seen some of this testimony still coming out from James Baker, a lot of these people have already given testimony. So by the time we're going to see this enter the public narrative, this has likely already happened. So I wouldn't be surprised if Whitaker's already given the axe to a few people and we're just waiting to hear about it. The dates may be fudged. We'll never really know the actual dates. Maybe we will. Hopefully we will. But I wouldn't be surprised if we weren't. Let's move on to 2749. 38 minutes, after the hour 2. And this is a screenshot from what we were just reading here. And numerous provisions purport in certain circumstances to condition the authority of officers to spend or reallocate funds on the approval of congressional committees. And this is where I was talking about here. It looks like we may have slipped some landmines of our own in this thing. And this is what this Anon is asking. So all restrictions are off. Yeah, I think this national emergency really throws a wrench into things here. These are impermissible forms of congressional aggrandizement in the execution of the laws other than by the enactment of statutes. My administration will appropriate efforts to notify the relevant committees before taking the specified actions and will accord the recommendations of such committees all appropriate and serious consideration, but it will not treat spending decisions as dependent on the approval of congressional committees. All right, there you go. And Q says, trust your president. Well, look, I'm going to trust and verify not just this president, but every president. I love this president, but still trust and verify. But overall, from what I'm seeing right now, from what we've just read, I'm not real concerned about this. It seems like this national emergency is really throwing a wrench in the game. So it just kind of depends on how this all works with all these different divisions and sections. This kind of stuff might take a few days to kind of really understand, at least for me. But overall, I'm not seeing anything to freak out about. Post 2750, 40 minutes after the hour of 2. Anon says, Trump's statement is brilliant. Deep State loaded the bill with multiple facets to block it, and his White House statement just released systematically points out section by section where they tried to block him, and he's countering that by citing presidential and constitutional authority.
Shall we play a game?
Could very well be the case at first glance, which is basically right here with you and I. I tend to agree with the anonymous, but I would still like to look at it a little bit more and just make sure. But Q is confirming this, at least on Q's end. Let's move on to 2751, 42 minutes after the hour 2. Anon says, I trust POTUS and I trust the Lord. The Lord is leading POTUS. Of that, I'm certain. And Q says, the Lord is leading us all. Good versus evil. Q. Post 2752, 55 minutes after the hour of 2. PBQ, this is from an anonymous. These phrases below imply that Trump plans on following his constitutional rights no matter what he signed in the Consolidated Appropriations Act 2019, the Act, which authorizes appropriations to fund the operation of a number of agencies in the federal government through September 30th, 2019. My administration will treat each of these provisions consistent with the president's constitutional authorities with respect to foreign relations. And my administration will continue the practice of treating provisions like these as advisory and non-binding. And my administration will make appropriate efforts to notify the relevant committees before taking the specified actions and will accord the recommendations of such committees all appropriate and serious consideration, but it will not treat spending decisions as dependent on the approval of congressional committees. Q confirms and says, you are the news now. Indeed, we are. 2753. 37 minutes after the hour 3, we get this Twitter link right here. Takes you to Ruth Ann on Twitter at T-Boots. This man needs to be heard. He's fed up with liberals and their destructive behavior. Don't like this country? Leave. Well, let's check out what Homeboy's got to say.
Tesla? Really? Man, I don't understand it. Obviously, it's not Republicans out there causing all this destruction. You know, burning up the streets, blocking roads, and things like that. It's the liberals. You know, these are the same people that are against the Second Amendment because they want to decrease violence and nobody should have guns. The same people that are anti-abortion because they want to save lives. And you're causing all this destruction just because your candidate lost. See, that's the problem with this country. You can't always get your way. Everybody wants to be politically correct. Quit being crybabies. Ain't nothing free. You ain't no slave. You don't get your way. So you act like a 2-year-old, burning up people's stuff, destroying the streets, making people late for work. Man, I'm glad I don't live in New York City or Washington or Oregon, because I would run one of y'all asses over. You are outrageous, man. You are the exact reason why Donald Trump won the election. Because we're tired of you crybabies. You didn't earn anything. None of you put on a uniform. But you're quick to disrespect the flag. Not want to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Not want to recognize the Bible. But you want everything. You didn't fight for anything, but you want it. It doesn't work like that. You know, I think it should be all these people out there that want to protest and burn stuff up. I don't think the cops should protect them. Obviously, when people look at the flag and say, that's not my flag, Donald Trump is not my president, then you know what? Then obviously, this ain't your damn country. Leave. Find another flag. Find another president. Go to Mexico. I really don't care. But quit tearing up stuff. Quit causing destruction and preaching peace, because you're contradicting yourself. I'm Deion Alexander, American First.
Well said, my friend. Well said. All right, kids, those are your Q posts for now. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to all of you who already do that. And if you're new to my channel, welcome to you. Please keep in mind that from time to time, you're going to get unclicked and unnotified and unsubscribed. That's how social media works these days. So do me a favor and just keep checking back. Either search IPOT or In Pursuit of Truth, and you should be able to find me. Also, I'd appreciate it if you join me on one of my other channels, my Gab, my BitChute, my Real.video, which is now Brighteon.com, and over here at Twitter at IPOT1776. That's at IPOT1776. All those links are down below. My email is down below. My P.O. box is down below if you'd like to send me some snail mail. And if you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon link is down below. All those links are down below. All right, kids, this is Sir Patrick Mack, and until we meet again, stay safe.